It's a pleasure and an honor for me to participate also this year to the Congress of the Forum of Anesthesiologists and Reanimatologists of Russia. And it's really a pity not to be able to be there in present. I really miss the opportunity to meet with several good friends and good scientists I'm working with, and I keep cooperating over time. Today, I've been invited to present on the possible role of scientific societies and where we come from and where we are heading to. And so we will review together some basics of the history of scientific societies, the role of scientific societies in education and research, and especially which might be and how important is the role of scientific societies in defining and including researchers, and the integrity of research and how scientific societies should vigilate over the integrity of produced and published papers and published evidence. How is the impact on the quality of delivered healthcare, and which are the future challenges that nowadays scientific societies are facing? So the first, officially the first reported and still alive scientific societies is the British Royal Societies, founded in 1660. But actually in 1560, in Naples, in Italy, was founded the Accademia Secretorum Naturae, the Academy of the Secrets of the Nature, that brought together a group of friends and scientists that had common interest. In the 17th century, several new societies were founded in various places in Europe, including Rome, Florence, London, and Paris. And it became obvious that people with common interest tended to associate, to exchange ideas, to challenge themselves, and to give mutual support to research and future studies. Subsequently, the scientific societies also developed another aspect, and in particular, they became the connecting point between citizen, the majority of the population, and scientists. And this was one of the priorities. So to inform and spread principles of general interest. But even more after, the scientific societies, as reported in this paper published in 1958, also defined the possible itinerary for specific professional education. So, as a summary, we can report how during the Renaissance, the main role of scientific societies was to gather people with similar interest, but thereafter, they also became a channel of communication between different levels, between different elements of the society. More recently, scientific societies also took a substantial role in promoting cultural development in the specific subset in underdeveloped countries or in realities where there is an interest in promoting more and advanced competence. So to summarize this first section of the lecture, the first scientific society was founded in 1560 in Naples, the Accademia Secretorum Naturae, and followed in the 17th century by several societies in Europe. These communities were originally intended as a place for meeting to scientists and people with common interest, but thereafter also earned more complex and more developed aspects, including the communication with other part of the societies and development of defined educational path and promoting international standards. So which is the role in the education of this scientific society? This is a report from inside of a scientific society. And as you see, there are four major aspects. Certainly, education is one of the most important. So also to define the policy of developing new research. Third is the communication, as anticipated from the previous section. Communication with other section of the society is very significant competence of a scientific society. And last but not least, to continue to develop research and publication. In this field, in May 2022, the European Board of Anesthesiologists presented a proposal for a revision of the training in anesthesia, and the UAMS approved and delivered a revised version of the ETR, European Educational Training Requirements. I have little contributed to this new document, and I hope that this will serve as a reference for future generation. And to frame which are the current requirements in education and anesthesia, we published in 2023 the results of the survey. And the most interesting aspect is that despite the specialization of anesthesia and intensive care is suggested to take 5 years, this standard is fulfilled only in some of the nations, let's say the largest majority of the nations, about 90%, but still a great effort is needed to make it more homogeneous throughout European countries, the criteria and the standard for training in anesthesiology. How to implement the educational itinerary? There are specific tools, and the entrustable professional activity is one of these among the most interesting. It defines which steps in terms of clinical practice and background knowledge are needed for a junior resident to be involved in an independent manner in the management of a specific procedure or a case. Of course, it's important to understand how education strictly connects with patient safety. Educational standards are relevant to warrant an adequate level of safety when clinical care is delivered. On top of this, educational requirements should also be delivered to underrepresented and minority social groups. And educational and societies can promote and should vigilate on the largest access to a qualified educational process for all the elements and all the residents, whatever is the religious or gender or personal belief or trust. And special attention is being paid to the members of the LGBTQ community, but also to the sex and racial disparities that still exist in various countries. So regarding the role of scientific societies in education, I think it's important to remember how scientific societies do warrant specific and qualified itinerary for earning a certain level of competence. In 2022, the UMES and the European Board of Anesthesiologists delivered the new educational and training requirements in anesthesiology, and it's important to use updated tools as entrustable professional activity to favor the access of new members and younger residents into certain level of clinical competence. How scientific societies are involved in research and which are the main duties they should work on. I would say inclusion of early career researchers and support of these researchers, and vigilance over integrity. Certainly to favor and to promote the inclusion of younger researchers is a sign of vitality of a community. Younger people brings new perspective into research, and they represent a significant challenge for senior like me, for instance, when we come to proposal for research. So a balance, a ratio between senior and young researcher is a distinctive sign of quality in a scientific community. And certainly scientific societies should promote to the largest the inclusivity principles to support to the largest equality training and an appropriate tutoring for those colleagues that have specific interest in research. The other aspect that connects, that bonds scientific society to the research is the integrity. Unfortunately, the publication of forged studies is an exploding reality, and several aspects contribute to this: economic interest, personal ambitions, and to some extent also the interest of scientific journals to continue to expand their visibility. This is the perspective of a fraudulent publication is booming in the last years. And as you see, between good and bad published papers, it seems that the forged studies are growing faster. And this calls every member of our community to vigilate and to take the strongest action to prevent and minimize this occurrence. This is a paper that I contributed to publish a couple of years ago. And of note, it reports how among retracted studies in medicine, the first, the second, and the fifth position are held by anesthesiologists. So we overcast all the specialties, holding the top five, 3 of the top 5 position in retraction. And this is a very relevant and serious concern, and I think we are all called to vigilate and prevent it. How it can be done? Certainly the scientific background of the specific researcher and of the group is a qualifying criteria for the quality of produced science, but it's important that scientific societies take specific actions into promoting quality and integrity research. Future challenges for scientific societies. We are now in the 21st century, and it seems that scientific societies, especially in anesthesia and intensive care, should take new challenges. And certainly the quality of delivered care, including staffing, is one of the relevant criteria. It's not possible to deliver high quality standards of care when the staff is underrepresented. Another relevant aspect of the scientific societies is to promote an adequate formation in terms of numbers and in terms of quality of healthcare workers, especially in anesthesia and intensive care. And as you see, the crisis of the working condition is spreading throughout the world, and the last and this year do represent a turning point on requirements from our colleagues and colleagues we work with as nurses in requiring conditions of good work. This is not only important for the patient, but we should also think of what is called the second victim. So we all know that when an adverse event occurs, we come to ask ourselves if everything has been done properly. And when the answer to ourselves cannot be a fully and convinced yes, we become the second victim of a possible suboptimal course. So quality standards are not only relevant for the patients, but also for ourselves as a physician, anesthesiologist, and intensivist. One of the aspects that can contribute to suboptimal delivering of care is the fatigue. And scientific societies are taking a clear position of a reasonable time of work and time to rest and work balance and resting conditions. So this is another and last aspect where we might take an action to minimize the impact over the environment of our activities that might be represented by scientific societies. In conclusion, anesthesia and intensive care scientific societies can and should promote quality and high level of education, and they should also promote and warrant the inclusion of social minorities into an educational itinerary. The scientific societies should promote research, and especially the inclusion of younger researchers into the staff, into the group, and to warrant and to vigilate over integrity of the research. Regarding future challenges, of course, the most important are adequate staffing, adequate education in terms of number, and preventing or minimizing condition of over fatigue, and try to contribute to define standard that minimize the potential environmental impact of our activity. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to see you in presence in a short future. Ciao.